Good evening, councillors, officers, and any members of the public that are watching this evening. Welcome to this special full council meeting, Tuesday, the 8th of September 2020. First item on the agenda, item agenda 1, apologies for absence, Town Clerk.
We have apologies from councillors Eggleton and Plant.
Yeah, thank you. Item 2, declaration of interest. Does anybody have any declarations of interest of any item on the agenda this evening? I see none. Item 3, the columbarium. Could we have a report from you, Town Clerk, on this one?
So the report has been, sorry, I'm getting a bit of feedback. The report has been circulated to all councillors. There's quite a detailed report from the contract administrator, the architect West Waddy, detailing the issues. In brief, the issues that have been found are rotting roof timbers. This has only been found when they started the enabling works. And they started, which was basically putting in kind of drainage system guttering. When they started doing that work, then they uncovered the rotting timbers, and the more they uncovered, the more they saw. This is why it hasn't been raised previously. This was outside of the scope of the work for the columbarium, and hence it hasn't been highlighted beforehand. So I'll just refer you to the report and the details there. There are a lot of photos showing the extent of the damage, or the extent of what they think the damage is. The big question here is that we don't know exactly how much of the roof timbers will need replacing, unless you strip it all back and look. Hence, you have the two options. There's the one option to try and replace the timbers that we know are rotting, and basically hope for the best with the remainder. The issue there is that they don't believe that it would likely give us much more than 10 years extension on the roof, and then we might have to do further work. Secondly, the contractor is concerned that if we don't carry out the full replacement of the roof, then it may not be watertight, and then they wouldn't give a warranty on their electrical work and on the cabinetry which is going into the building. So that's the issue there, and everything else really is in the report. So I'm here to take questions on it.
Town Clerk, there's a meeting, I believe, on Friday morning at 9:30 at the cemetery. Could you just tell me who is going to go to that meeting? I obviously would like to go. I take it you're going to be there?
Yes, so this is a 4-weekly meeting held between the council, so that would be myself and Liz Jones, who is project managing it from the council, the contract administrator, West Waddy, and the contractor. So this is a regular catch-up that's always in the diary. So yes, I will be there. Liz Jones will be there. A member of park staff will also be there, and councillors are also welcome to attend if they wish to get a fuller picture of exactly what is going on there. I think the report gives a good summary of it, but there's nothing beats kind of being in there in person.
What I'm worried about is the large sums of money for this extra work, and personally, I would like to, before I support that, I'd like to go and look at it in detail, obviously with yourself there, myself, and maybe 2 or 3 other councillors. And if we were this evening to agree to go forward this, I would like to say subject to myself, you, and say 2 or 3 other councillors agreeing to these figures. Would we be able to do that, Town Clerk?
Councillors will certainly be able to attend the site visit. For councillors to be able to formally agree the work, for a group of councillors to be able to agree the work, it would need to be formed into a formal committee or subcommittee with delegated authority from the council. The other option is that power is delegated to myself to agree the work, but in consultation with those councillors, which would in practice have the same effect.
Would any other councillors like to go to that meeting at 9:30? Can I just ask that question first? Right, we've got hands up from Councillor Clark, Councillor Hooper. Anybody else? We'll do with another one. Councillor Miller and Councillor Reisman. That's.
I'd like to. Kelly had her hand up the whole time, Ken.
Sorry, I didn't see you up the top there. Sorry. And Councillor Hinton. So that's to me is Councillor Hamilton. Did you want to go to that?
No, I think three's enough. I said.
No, well, okay. No, I think, to be honest, more the merrier. Otherwise, it puts the onus on 2 or 3 people to make that decision. So, if you were to take those names with your town clerk, and then, as you said before, you would make the delegated decision on this.
If approved by the council, although could you confirm the councillors who'd like to attend?
Well, there was Councillor Hinton, Councillor Hooper, Councillor Clark, Councillor Miller, Councillor Reisman, and myself. Make that 6.
If that's too many, I can duck out. It's up to you.
That's fine. I have all those names if that's approved by the council.
Yeah. Okay. Would anybody else like to speak on this before we make a recommendation? Councillor Hamilton. Councillor Hamilton.
I'm concerned also about the scope creep regarding this project. I'm fully in favour of doing the chapels and making them watertight and then doing the plastering. I just raised the issue that 3 or 4 years ago we did a load of work on the roof, and that went through Liz, as it were, and Liz ran that project. And I wonder whether there is a warranty for that work that was done that looked at basically mending the roof before we started looking at the dry rot and looking at drying the place out. We were told at that stage, you've got to mend the roof before you do the plastering. And at that stage, we were looking at grants from SODC, from the infrastructure grant, because clearly if we, I know Lorraine was successful in getting some money for BICS, but a roof or infrastructure of this nature might come, some money might come from SOD. I say might, obviously we've got to apply for it. But I'm just concerned that this scope is going from one to the next, and it's going to be a bigger project, and we should be applying for monies from SODC rather than just always using our own.
Are you referring to the previous building that where it was carried on the roof, or are you talking about the building that they're working on now?
The previous building.
Okay, that's fine.
Perhaps Lorraine can remember it, or Ian can remember it.
That's all right, that makes it clear to me anyway.
It's how we tried it out for the chap that was going to put the George Orwell exhibition in there.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lambert.
I was just wondering, is it possible for us to get a completely independent surveyor in there just to give us his opinion? I don't know, I didn't see that in the report, if that's already been done. It just seems that, the scope creep, which I'm also very concerned about, does benefit the contractor. We should get somebody independent in there. I can see the town clerk is wanted to respond.
Okay, town clerk.
So West Body, the architect, is our contract administrator and is, broadly speaking, that independent person. Yes, they did do the designs for the columbarium in almost a separate role as an architect. But as a contract administrator, they are there to be a conduit between ourselves and the contractor. We have sought from them assurances that the costs that are being quoted by the contractor are commensurate with the work that is due to be carried out. We asked what their methodology was for that. They don't have a QS, a quantity surveyor, on the team. Rather, what they do is they use examples from previous work, and they have extensive work on similar ecclesiastical buildings, churches, chapels, that sort of thing. And they've given their assurances that they believe this work is both necessary and represents value for money.
Councillor Gavashak.
Um, well, the first thing is I agree with the small group of councillors going up and having a look and a chat. I also agree with the town clerk being given delegated powers, and I think the delegated power should resolve around option 2. In other words, do the job properly or not at all. Having said that, I just want to ask the town clerk a couple of questions. Shouldn't this work have been spotted beforehand by West Waddy, the architects? And my concern, as Councillor Hamilton and Councillor Lambert have said, what happens if we go and kick another wall and we get another bill for £100,000 because we haven't had the whole building surveyed? Because if I read you right, the contract was for the columbarium, and this has come out of the investigation for that. What happens if they start digging further? Will we get another bill down the line?
That is a very good question, and there is always that possibility. My understanding of it is that because this was outside of the scope of the works to begin with, and the work wasn't to renovate the exterior of the chapel, it was really to stop the damp issues that we knew were there, and to install a columbarium, which is basically renovating the interior of the building. So this work was outside the scope, and hence I believe it wasn't picked up by either the architect or by the contractor when they visited the site. It's important to note that this work would need to, regardless of whether or not we do the columbarium, this work will need to be done. It's essential for the integrity of the chapels, and it is a separate piece of work. So that's why I believe it wasn't picked up. I have to say I wasn't in place when that initial work was done by West Waddy on the designs, so I can't speak for all the discussions that went on at that time, but that's my understanding.
Could I just ask a supplementary, Mayor?
I may stop you at any time, Councillor.
Of course.
But off you go.
Of course you can. I agree that the work has to be done, and it has to be done to a fantastic standard. So we've got to go ahead with that. But I'm immediately concerned with what future bills there might be. So I think the group of councillors should, when they meet West Waddy on Friday, they should ask the question, are there other areas of this building that you need to investigate, and give us an indication as to whether or not there will be future bills in other areas, the windows, for example, or the flooring or something like that. In other words, it would be better to know that we're in for X amount now than actually it being in dribs and drabs and drabs and dribs. So that's all I'm saying.
I take your point. Could I just ask Councillor Reisman, who's in charge of the money, where this money would come from if we went for option 2? And I believe we will have to go for option 2.
It would have to come out of the 2020-2021 CapEx. And
there is sufficient money there?
We'd have to either add it in or replace another item which we currently have in the budget. We can do either of those. The account assures me that is perfectly proper procedure. Maybe the town clerk can confirm that. But yes, it will come out of this current.
I'm sorry to put you on the spot there, but
that's all right.
I think we need to know.
I think it says in the report actually. So yes, so it says in 4.1 the full amount to be treated as CapEx 2020-2021.
You have spoken, Councillor Hamilton, so unless it's really anything new.
Councillor Reisman is half right. It could come out of CapEx 2021. It could also come from grants from English Heritage, from SODC,
Okay.
and from other areas.
No, you've already said that, Councillor Hamilton. You're just saying exactly what you said about 5 minutes ago. I did ask you if you had anything new to say, so thank you.
English Heritage.
So I would, unless anybody else would like to speak, no, I would propose that we go for option 2.
Councillor Clark's got his hand up.
Sorry, Councillor Clark, I didn't see you up there.
Yeah, thank you. As it's grade 2 listed, shouldn't English Heritage be involved in this to look at it as well?
Would you like to answer that, Town Clerk?
Yes, where any works do require listed building consents, then yes, we work with our contract administrator to ensure that's received.
Okay, thank you. Right, anybody else? No, right. I'd propose from the chair then that we go for option 2 on the budget on there, subject to this being agreement when we meet on Friday morning. So I'd so move that. And seconded by Councillor Gavashak. Would anybody like to speak to that recommendation or the motion?
Sorry, Chair. Sorry, Chair, Mr. Mayor, can we just roll in also the group of councillors that are meeting into the resolution as well?
Yeah,
Just to
absolutely.
make it
Well,
correct.
I think the town clerk did say that he would have the final decision. Is that correct, town clerk?
With delegated powers for the town clerk.
Could I confirm the wording of the resolution, that councillors Arler, Clark, Hinton, Hooper, Miller and Reisman attend a site meeting with the contractor and contract administrator to assess the remedial works, and that power be delegated to the clerk in consultation with the above councillors to approve option 2 of the report if satisfied, with the full amount to be treated as capital expenditure.
I think that's what I wrote down before, actually.
You obviously had a pre-meeting.
Right, did everybody, does everybody understand that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay, all in favour? That's unanimous, thank you. The next item is item 4, the Fairmile Cemetery. This is about the digitisation, rather than use archaic book work, which we've been using for the last 200 years, I believe. Would you like to speak to that again, Town Clerk?
I think everything is in the report, but this is the work. The administration of the cemetery is extremely laborious. We know that obviously we have a high level of staffing, and this is really one of those areas where we can really streamline our processes and bring the amount of staff time down considerably, perhaps down to 20% of the amount of time they take. The other key thing about this is the accuracy. Councillors will know that we have had various issues in the cemetery before, where there's been issues of double booking plots and various other issues, and this would first of all prevent that from happening in the future, and second of all, it means that by going back through our previous records, it checks to make sure that there are no potential clashes going to arise in the future. You will see the costs that are associated with it, and I fully believe that that the savings in staff time will mean that these costs will be made back in perhaps a year or 2 years maximum. That's how great the savings can be from updating our systems.
Councillor Miller, then Councillor Gavashak.
Yeah, it's just a query on company E, which is highlighted, which I believe you're happy to go with, but it says that we already have this system. I believe this system was installed in 2011, but never actually used. Yet it's quite a large chunk of money. The system, we've already got it installed. Why do we have to pay that when we already have it? What's that? What are we paying for?
There is a simple answer for that, Councillor Miller, but I'm going to let the town clerk give you it.
Thank you very much. So yes, we have had this. We have been paying money for this system since 2011, and for the past 9 years have not been using it, which is a great shame. The cost of this is really to populate the system with our previous records. And given the size of the cemetery and the number of our records, and the fact that our records are in a very archaic ledger form, it's very labour intensive to get those scanned in, to get those transcribed basically into the new system. And that's where the cost is. Once that has been done, the ongoing cost, you can see the annual cost is about £500 per year. The annual cost is actually very low.
So it is really all the scanning then. I know I've asked this before, but yeah, it's just the scanning and the okay. Thank you.
I can't count the town clerk again.
It is literally somebody going through and manually typing in all of the entries into the new system for hundreds of burials. Yeah.
Okay.
Councillor Gaveshock, then Councillor Hamilton.
Well, I'm going to propose the recommendation 4.1 that we go with Company E. I've heard the debate and I've read the reports. We've actually got a similar thing at OCC to do with decriminalisation. Every yellow line and every parking meter and every parking bay has to be digitised before we can have decriminalisation. And it's the same with this. There is no doubt that we should have a computerised system for the burial plots. And Councillor Miller, thank you for your excellent question. The reason why there is such a significant upfront cost, it's to go through all the dusty books and all the dusty records to actually transfer them accurately as well into the system. So therefore, I'm quite happy to propose 4.1, the recommendation. Thank you.
Do I have a second for that? Councillor, do I have a second for that?
I'll second that.
Councillor Miller seconded it. Okay, who would like to speak? Councillor Hamilton.
Yeah, I hear the town clerk's points in terms of it's a laborious thing and accuracy is key. And I really want to stress, I've seen the ledgers. I've had to attend the court case that involved the problems that we've had in the past 4 years ago. And I've seen the sensitivities with this cemetery. We have to get this absolutely right. And my worry is that in doing this process, I asked the town clerk, when those ledgers leave that building, they need to be managed in a very, very controlled way, because they're the only records we have for all the burials in Henley. So I really want to make sure that the process that takes place, and I appreciate there's an upfront cost, and I support this recommendation, but we've got to make sure this is done very, very carefully indeed. I always think that we ought to get sort of GPS tracking so that we can see exactly who is buried where, because there has to be more controls than just having a ledger and a computer program. And we've got to ensure that that management system is absolutely 100% correct, because I'm fully aware of the very, very sensitive.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Hamilton, on that. Thank you very much. Councillor Lambert, thank you.
Yeah, GPS would not be accurate enough to get it down to an individual grave.
Sorry, we can't hear you, Councillor Lambert.
I was just saying GPS wouldn't be accurate enough to get it down to individual grave level.
Well,
okay.
Good.
Councillor Hamilton, you've spoken. Town clerk.
I would echo the concerns of Councillor Hamilton, and that is indeed exactly why we need to do this process. However, we will of course ensure that those ledgers are kept secure during the process, and that we don't lose that information in transit or wherever it might be.
Anybody else wish to speak on this? Okay, right, got a proposal from Councillor Gaveshock, was seconded by Councillor Miller. Would you like to sum up, Councillor Gaveshock, or are you okay?
No, I think it's all been said. Thank you.
Okay. All in favour of the proposal to go for Company E as recommendation on 4.1 on your paper this evening? All in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Item 5, exclusion of the press and the public. To exclude the public and the press from the remainder of the meeting in accordance with the Public Bodies Administration of Meetings Act 1960 as matters which will be discussed are considered to be confidential. All in favour of that? That's carried, thank you.